Sarah, it's another Best of the Year list, and we have one of our longest titles ever. Welcome to...
the best value and most available bourbons of 2023. That's quite the mouthful.
Yeah, but it says it all right there.
We got to consider these factors. That's
Right.
the whole reason why we're doing this second part.
Exactly. So we did our best of the best de facto, very little caveat.
Taste alone.
Last video, if you guys haven't seen that, you might want to go watch it. If you want a good explanation of all of our methods, watch the first 5 minutes of that video. We're not going to repeat it here.
No.
And I bet you guys are glad of that. But we do have a few things to get through. Sarah, there are chapter marks though.
There are, and you can always jump around if you don't want to hear us talk. However, in the comments later, if you're like, well, why didn't you do this? We might reply and say, well, we did talk about it, but
gotcha.
you must have jumped around on the chapter marks. Nah, do whatever you want.
So as we said, we did that best of the best de facto episode where we had 4 categories: nose, palate, mouthfeel, and finish.
For a total score of 125 points each.
But now we are introducing 3 more categories. So 7.
7 total.
7 total. There we
Counting.
go. 7.
We have availability, retail price, and secondary price to consider, which we couldn't score the first time around because everything was completely blind. So then we went through afterwards and we added our thoughts of, on those things after they were revealed. And that does change things because when we're considering taste for the price and the availability, it weights things differently.
In fact, let's take an example, and this is going to be a spoiler because we're going to use our #1 bourbon of the year. So overall, it scored 97 points from us, averaged. But in the next 3 categories, it scored a 2 in availability,
a 25 in retail value. If you can find that on the shelf for retail, I don't know who's not buying that.
That is a value.
10 out of 10 times, I'm buying it.
Exactly. And a 1.25 in secondary value to drop it to its new score of 71.75 or 33rd overall.
Ooh.
So you can see how things can change, how the mighty have fallen, right?
Because we all know the secondary value on that one is high, whether it's the best thing we tasted or not all year. I'm not buying it. 0 out of 10 times am I buying that. So
now, of course, that's subjective to the person and your bourbon budget. So this is just gotta be our opinion.
So yeah, you get it. This new system may have rewarded bourbons that scored a little lower as far as overall taste, but scored really well in terms of price and availability. And if it's something that doesn't have a secondary price, like it's just not something that's going on the secondary market, that benefited it even more. It got full points if it doesn't have a secondary price.
Exactly. We get 25 out of 25 possible points if there is no secondary markup for it.
And this is our first year doing this, so these categories are all new to us and we're playing around with them, but we felt good about this method.
Yeah. So once we had everything ranked in the 3 new categories and then we hit shuffle and we saw our 1 through 10, we did just like we did with our other top 10 video, we did our double check. So we poured them blind. They had the name of it on the bottom of the Glencairn. We took them sort of in sections. We tried them, this or that, this or that,
just to make sure there were no major disparities.
Yeah,
you know?
Until we had them lined up 1 through 10, we did the reveal. And on this one, Sarah, it did mix things up more than it did in our other video.
It did, but we still kept things, we still took a step back and considered, price versus availability versus taste, like how all these things played together. Another thing to note is that when we did this, all of our benchmark pours scored in the top 10.
Yeah. Our staples, because benchmark is one of
Our
bourbons.
staples, our controls, whatever you want to call them, they all scored really highly, and I think that's just because, one, they're all available, that's why we picked them as our staples.
And well reviewed by many.
Many, but also very familiar to us, so they scored high in the taste categories.
That could help them because they're familiar to us.
And none of them have a secondary value, so...
Yeah,
in order to keep this as a 2023 top 10 list, we went ahead and removed those.
Yeah, they were all in the top 10.
Right, but you can see them right here.
Yeah, this is how they ranked, but to provide more value for what this actually is, talking about 2023 releases, let's go ahead and whoosh, they're out of there.
They're out. Although I was surprised to see Rare Breed come in last.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk more about that in our analysis video because that was a bought in December of 2023, new bottle of Rare Breed. I don't know, kind of slide in quality, I don't know, more on that later. All right, one last thing. If we had built this list from the ground up, we may have not included certain bottles because of their high price. And when you hear best value, most available category, you just wouldn't think of these.
The important thing to remember when you're watching this video is that we approach this as value doesn't necessarily mean cheap. Value means you're getting the bang for your buck.
Yeah.
So if it costs $150, but it was ranked, say number 4 on our list or whatever, to me, that's value. It is delivering on that price point.
Sure. You also have to look at like 2023 prices. Like,
correct.
Is it fair? That type of thing, 2023 standards.
Again, it's all subjective.
Yeah,
if you want to leave a comment that says how you would have changed things according to your opinion, that's fine too. Yeah. I won't argue with you. All right, I think that's enough background setup. Let's get into this list, but let's do this one a little differently. Let's start with number 25 and work our way. We'll do honorable mentions, 25 through 11, and then get into the top 10.
I like that.
Okay.
Okay, coming in at number 25, Jack Daniel's 12-year.
Number 24, Russell's Reserve 13-year.
Making it to number 23 is Baker's 13-year.
At number 22, we have Castle & Key 2023 101 proof.
Number 21 brings us Still Austin Bottled & Bond High Rye Bourbon.
At number 20, we have Pursuit United Bourbon Batch 11 CD.
Number 19 is Little Book Chapter 7.
At number 18, the Bardstown Bourbon Company Chateau Doisy Dane.
Number 17, Maker's Mark BEP.
Number 16, Four-Gate Kelvin Collaboration number 5.
Breaking into number 15, it's Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923.
At number 14, we have the Chattanooga Bottled & Bond Bourbon Fall Edition.
Number 13 is another Four-Gate. It's the Four-Gate Kelvin 60.
At number 12, we have the Larceny Barrel Proof B523.
And at number 11, Yellowstone LE for 2023. Now, okay.
It's really different than...
Yes, really different. Here's something that I could hear a comment being made, which would be a good one. No way Larceny Barrel Proof was better than Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923. And in our other episode, when it's taste alone, you're right. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof crushed Larceny. But Larceny isn't as popular, therefore not as sought after, therefore more available. So it scored higher there. Value, maybe a little bit lower than the value of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, but I think the availability really kind of held it up, and that's why it slotted where it did.
And I would also note that 11 through 15, that was like neck and neck for all of those things. Like, I think on any given day, we could all probably have a conversation and maybe shuffle those places around a little bit.
For sure.
So don't take it so much as like a definitive number 11 is this, and it is better than number 12.
Right. They're all
more of like a guideline.
In that area.
Shall we talk about number 10?
Number 10.
Remus Repeal Reserve, number 7. All right, so first let's talk about availability. Out of 25, we scored this one a 20.
A 20?
Because we've seen it several times just chilling on the shelf at Total Wine.
I saw it for like 3 or 4 week stint where I went in there and it was still on the shelf there.
It wasn't like it was just one.
They were deep. And I feel like if this were last year, that 20 would have been more like a 5 or a 6. It was so hard for us to find. We had to actively seek out and find it. One place that finally had it.
Yeah.
I saw it in several places this year.
Yeah, and now I do feel like I preferred previous years to this year's, but I still think this year's was good.
It was good.
In terms of retail value, we also gave it a 20. Good, but not great. And we talked about this in the episode where we reviewed it. And then also, as far as secondary goes, because it sits on the shelf in a lot of places, there really isn't one.
23. So that took some Googling to see like what online shops were selling it, and we saw it for like 110, 115. Nothing really much
markup
above there. So we sort of went like in a percentage above retail if it went to like a 0.5 multiplier, 1x, 1.5, 2x.
We have a formula, don't worry.
We have a formula. Yeah.
That's it at number 10.
Pretty solid pour. At number 9, Ben Holiday Bottled & Bond. Because we are sticklers for the rules, I want to point this out before anyone else does.
Point it out. Okay.
Technically a late 2022 release, but a 2023 release to our area. It was new to a lot of people in 2023, so please forgive us for not being by the book with that one.
100%, yeah.
But the 2 Ben Holiday releases that we tried,
we liked them so much.
Yeah, they
for the for the price and availability.
Yeah,
definitely worth noting.
Very solid. for that 6-year age statement. The Bourbon Bond, just really solid, really enjoyable.
Maybe not like everywhere, you know, we didn't score it the highest in availability, but in terms of retail value, thought that it's a solid retail value, and there's no secondary really for it. So it got 25 out of 25, and I think that's what helped it get, you know, up to the spot that it's in.
Along with a respectable score blind just in our first 4 categories.
Of our tasting. Yeah,
as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At number 8, the Holiday Red Winter Wheat.
Speaking of Ben Holiday.
Oh, I see a pattern.
Here's the one that we always said we liked better.
And here it is a little bit higher.
Thank you. It actually happened blind that way. I love it when
I do love it when it pays off. Yeah.
Very similar specs. This is the soft red winter wheat. The proof's the same. There's just something about that soft red winter wheat. Love saying those 4 words together. Something that we just liked better, and apparently we weren't just blowing smoke. It came out that way blind too.
Yeah.
Around $50 for either one of these. I think there's like usually $1 difference.
But both of them,
between the two.
Very good value for as well as we like them in terms of like you know, the whole like tasting blind part. Just good solid bottles that we feel like the community should be on the lookout for.
Now, this seems like as good of a place as any to take a little pause, tell you about our home on the internet. It's whiskyambitions.com. It's where you can get the t-shirt that I'm wearing, my hat, the Glencairns we're drinking from, our water glasses, all of our glassware, candles, coffee, syrup, cocktail syrup.
We got it.
Elemental elixirs, beautiful cocktail syrup that we're very proud to have out there now as well. T-shirts, hoodies, all that jazz, and more that's always coming soon at whiskyambitions.com.
And you can become a patron at patreon.com/itsbourbonnight and join our community for as little as $1 a month. And we couldn't make any of these lists without our patrons. They're so kind and generous with us. And in return, we try to be great back to them. So we have exclusive barrel picks for them, opportunities to participate in those picks, discounts on that merch depending on your tier, after the episode exclusives, and more.
All right, we'll be right back.
So normally we would have taken that ad pause before we got into number 5, but I think it's important that we took the pause here, and a bit of a spoiler, I just want to point out that you're about to see a lot of Bardstown Bourbon Company products, which we've been saying all year.
Yes.
We've been calling it out.
They had, well, let's just look at, besides their collaboration releases, they had the 3 Origin series come out this year, which put them in the 2023 contention, and then they had the 2 discoveries as well. So there was a lot there to go in there. If we were doing this on paper, if it weren't blind, if we were just like politically doing it, I feel like we would not have loaded so much Bardstown Bourbon Company in here, because it makes us look suspicious.
It does look a little suspicious. However, I will say throughout the year when people have asked me what's my best value bottles of 2023 so far, every single time I have said the Origin series. That has been my go-to answer. I have stood by that. And again, spoilers, it's about to pay off.
Let's talk about number 7, which is Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin Series Rye Bourbon.
Yeah, so we've got the 2 Origin Series bourbon.
The Rye Bourbon and the Wheated Bourbon.
And the Wheated Bourbon. So the Rye Bourbon came in at number 7. We actually got a preview of these bottles before they came out in 2023, so fall of 2022. And then before they were even on the market, I remember our whole group who got to taste it being like, this is something.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about how in the age of super premium, highly allocated stuff, it was very noteworthy that they would come out with 2 products of such quality at 6 years old for $50 and under.
45 and 50, yeah.
Right.
Because when you think about new releases of a year, you're not normally talking about a $30 or $40 or $50 bottle. It's normally ones that are more like the norm, right? $80, $90, $100, things like that.
At number 6, we have Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery Series number 11. This is a bit of a surprise for me because in a taste only, I put 11 over 10 every time that I tasted it.
I put 10, but as we sort of polled people on a live episode, I was in the minority.
It's true. Like, they're in the same price category, so it's like...
And availability and everything.
And availability and everything, so here we are.
Yeah.
And I still, when I taste them side by side, I'm like, I like the 11 better. But in the blind scoring and the scores the way it came out, apparently I like the 10 better. I don't know. I think they're both great.
They are both great, but yeah, here's this one. And as much as we're talking about Bardstown Bourbon Company, that means we probably likely going to have another Origin series in here, which did better than a Discovery. Now, you gotta think, Discovery, higher priced, a little harder to find. So in those 3 new categories, those got dinged a little bit because of that. And the Origin series rose a little bit, had the advantage because of that. But
also in terms of retail price and availability.
Yeah. Coming in at number 5, Knob Creek 18-year 2023 edition. So here's that thing we're talking about, that we didn't set a price limit for these bottles, and that just because it's a higher price doesn't mean it is a bad value.
If you're getting the bang for your buck, it's a good value.
Yeah, because this one was 170 around there.
But if we think about let's go back to our age equation.
$10 a year
is what we generally use as rule of thumb. $10 a year, that would be $180.
If the bottle can back it up with the taste. And this one did. I mean, not the best of the best, but it did. Yeah, so because of that, we gave it a 20 in availability, because at first we were like, oh, we can't find this anywhere. Luckily, Glenn and Kathy, a couple of our friends,
from Patreon,
gave us a sample. And then after that, guys, we saw it at multiple stores.
It just took a while to get to our...
Multiple times.
Yeah.
So availability, 20.
Retail price, again, we gave it a 22 because, as we just said about our age calculator, it does deliver and it adds up.
And in the secondary value, some websites inflated it a little bit, so we gave it also a 22 because there was some people who were trying to charge more for it, thinking that they, really had
but not anything like double or times
crazy.
and a half, like $20-$30 maybe.
Over, yeah. So gave it a 22 because of that. Solid.
You loved it a lot because for me, the oak was a little. That's what held it back for me in the beginning. But I think overall value, it really came in. Coming in at number 4, the James E. Pepper Barrel Proof.
Yeah, a new one for 2023. Obviously, that's what this list is about. But a new territory for James E. Pepper, which is a Lexington distillery. Shout out to Lexington Distilleries. Barrel proof, 5-year age stated. It wasn't tasting like, 5 can be considered on the younger side.
Some people would say
sometimes.
That's younger, yeah.
Tasting this blind, we didn't write any notes that were like, it tastes a little young.
No,
it was just really good stuff. It is available in all 50 states here in the US. I've seen it at some stores too, so we gave it a 20 out of 25. Retail value, Sarah?
A 22.
It's around $80.
Yeah, $80, but we're with the age statement, but the taste delivers and the availability, it's a 22.
And then no secondary value, so it got a 25 there, which did help it in this ranking. But really strong first venture into this area of James E. Pepper's own distillate.
I cannot wait to see
more so
there.
I want to see the 6. I want to see the 7. I want to see the 8.
Be on the lookout.
I got high hopes for those, so hopefully they keep delivering. At number 3, Green River Wheated Bourbon. Now here's maybe one of the lowest priced bottles on this list.
That's true.
Around $35.
Which is definitely why it's getting up here as well.
Now the rye version of this bourbon came out the year before. We typically have liked that one better, but this wheat showing up here at number 3.
It fared very well. Yeah, another Bardstown Bourbon Company owned product.
My God.
They own Green River now. I don't know if you knew that, Chad.
All right, some tasty notes. Let's see what we got, because these are blind.
Yeah, I said light and airy and a banana bread note, like a banana walnut bread.
I said walnut bread.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, faint lemon, fluffy meringue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like meringue and banana nut bread and walnut bread. All those things sound good.
Yeah, and then on the taste I said lemon meringue, so I had that meringue thing.
Yeah, I think that it's just light, approachable, easy, wheated sweetness,
Of course it's scored well for the retail value, no secondary value, and it's pretty much everywhere.
Available.
So yeah, it got high marks there, which helped it get to number 3. But now, number 2.
At number 2, the Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin Series Wheated Bourbon.
Beating out a Discovery, beating out the other Origin.
Again, I think
we've always liked that.
We've always liked the wheated better a little bit.
100 proof versus the 96 proof, yeah.
So I think it's getting, those scores on taste, but also it's getting the availability and the retail value. So that's shooting it up to number 2.
True.
One of the best value things I've tasted all year. Apparently it is the best, second to best value thing I've tasted all year. In terms of being under $50, this would be my number 1 recommendation for someone saying they're looking for something new. That's what I've said since it came out at the beginning of 2023.
You're gonna keep saying it.
And I'm gonna keep saying it.
Let's do some tasty notes. I said sweet, desserty, vintage. That's always good when you put that in a nose note, right? Oak, age, even though it's 6 years, I was getting some age. Leather, spice, lemon. Am I reading the right one? Yeah.
Yeah.
On the palate, spiced cedar? What was I trying to say?
Cider. It looks like cider to me.
Spice cider, we'll go with that. Terrible handwriting, Chad. Light on the proof, 100. I mean, come on, Chad. Honey and tea, and a nice back end.
So my highlight, my summary of notes was, I said honey bunches of oats, a hint of molasses, and gentle oak.
Okay.
And I think that, honey bunches of oats with what you said kind of fits in. And it's kind of what I would expect from the wheated profile. I think the takeaway here from number 2 and 3 is that Bardstown Bourbon Company owned wheated products are having their moment.
Oh yeah, because of the Green River.
In terms
wheated.
of value, yeah. In terms of the Green River wheated coming in at number 3.
I mean, different distilleries, different distillate, but still.
Sure, but still,
like
same company.
Interesting. Okay, well, Sarah, it's that time, right?
It's time for number 1.
And at number 1, it's the Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery Series number 10.
I warned you that this top 7 was going to be very Bardstown Bourbon Company heavy. Did you listen? I'm not sure. Are you surprised? Maybe.
And it's the 10 where you always said you liked 11, and to this day you still say you like the 11 better than the 10.
Well, because let's be real though, this is also a average of both of our scores. Personally, I still do feel like I like the 11 a little bit better, but I'm not. That doesn't mean I don't like the 10.
We scored ours very close.
Shh.
0.25 apart, Sarah.
Hush.
Okay.
Hush. It doesn't matter. They're all good.
They are all good. Nose notes, I said earthy, lemon, tea, savory, barbecue chips, or grippos. Yum.
Who'd you get that note from, Chad?
On the palate, I said a little dry, but lemon, honey, tangerine, dry oak. Gave it a pretty decent score there.
Okay, I'll let you wax poetically about this one. I also wrote the barbecue chips and some baking spice notes on that one. Good mouthfeel was one of the things that I wrote about it, and I think that helps things a lot, especially in this value category.
Yeah, availability 20 out of 25, retail value 20 out of 25, and then secondary we're not really seeing it for over its retail, so 25 points there.
Yeah.
All that adding up with a pretty good average score between us.
For the tasting.
Put it into the number 1 spot. Now. Sarah, people might be wondering.
What are they wondering?
Did Discovery 10 show up anywhere? Because if you've watched the other episode, you didn't see it in 15 through 1.
That's
so
true.
Where did it show up? So here's the thing. You know us. We like to pick the best representation from series. So like the best Bookers of the year goes in. The best Elijah Craig goes in. And we did the best Discovery, which ended up being 11, went in.
Which is what we voted.
Now, when we were looking at the 39 bourbons that we had for our first episode, the de facto best of the best, we said we should probably find some others that we didn't earmark throughout the year as this needs to go in to see if it is the best of the year, but that we did enjoy. So we ended up adding 7 new bourbons, which we did the same for category scoring of nose, palate, finish, price, blind. And then we revealed what they are, just like the 39, and did the availability, retail value, and secondary value.
So what you're saying is that maybe we didn't earmark them as this is the absolute best tasting thing that we've had all year, but when looking at it through this lens of best value and most available, we thought, hey, this one actually fits more into this category.
So that's why we added it.
Yeah, there we go.
All that to say, we don't know where, I mean, we can, and we'll talk about it in the breakdown, but when we were filming the first episode, we didn't have Discovery 10 in there to see where it fell. So we'll have to talk about that in the analysis show, right?
I suppose. I hope we can talk about it. We might need visual aids. I'm not gonna lie. I know what happened, and I'm like, how do I, yeah. So I'm sure you at home are like, what?
There's math going through your head.
It's some math. It's more math than I would prefer to do. But hey, I'll do it for y'all.
Yeah.
We'll do it for you guys.
But hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you got value of it.
Tell us either way in the comments.
Yeah, this was the first year that we did this new 7 category system.
Weighted system.
Give us your feedback. Let us know. We're always up to hearing that and improving things for next year. But that's where we better leave it for now, right?
We should leave it here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to us already, it's 2024. What you waiting for? Hey, I like that. You can do so by clicking right up here. There's suggestions of other videos down here, and we hope to see you over there in one of those. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Chad.
All right. See you guys next time. Until then, drink more bourbon.